Brodes Media.
Hey everyone, before we talk about this crazy Game 6, if you are new to the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button. We talk about Philadelphia sports every day here. And also, hit that like button too. It would mean the world to me. Also, every Wednesday on my Twitter page, at Brodes81, I run a giveaway. This Wednesday, I put up a 76ers playoff t-shirt. It's pinned to the top of my profile, at Brodes81. It's Nike. It's very beautiful. It's this reddish, maroonish color. It's very fantastic. Make sure you are entered to win the giveaway. It's a no-brainer. All right, thank you so much, and enjoy the show. What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. That was a hideous game of basketball, but the Sixers came out victorious, and that's all that matters. I know the way it played out and the performance we actually witnessed with our eyes is probably not the most satisfying, to the point where we feel so fantastic and we're just pretty much relying on the fact that you're in South Philadelphia. And if the Hawks were to now win this series, you're telling me that they come into your own building and win 3 of the 4 games? That just seems crazy. That just seems outrageous. So, with that theory, it makes me feel all right. But here's what I know. The Sixers showed some character, and while Joel Embiid was jacking up some really interesting shots, and while Ben Simmons was, well, the same Ben Simmons that we have seen for the last handful of games, and arguably even worse. At one point, he played 9 minutes in the first half and was somewhere around minus 17. He only played 25 minutes. Tyrese Maxey had to play 29 minutes and was a stud because he put pressure on the defense, because he can score, and because you can actually use a screen and have a ball handler actually matter in that scenario. And while there were some tough moments defensively, whether it was that Trae Young amazing shot after Maxey put on some really good defense, but Trae Young ends up getting the ball and firing away anyway, or whether it was the logo shot, Tyrese Maxey made him work, and there's only so much that you can do. Tyrese Maxey, man, I'll tell you what, that was ridiculous. He also, by the way, hit his free throws too in the back end of a road playoff elimination game. Talk about staying ready, talk about being prepared, and talk about just focusing, putting your brain to the court, putting your brain to the film room, putting your brain into watching and studying your teammates all season long. It's a grind. It's a grind being a young 19, 20-year-old kid on a team that's going to be making a serious playoff run, where you got to pretty much educate yourself on the bench at times and listen to Danny Green and listen to the coaches. And it's just a weird way through not technically experience every single damn time. It's not always firsthand experience, but it's just learning off to the side. And then here you go. You're in the middle of a playoff game in the fourth quarter, and we need you badly. He was making threes. Unfortunately, the referees took away one of them because of that Dwight Howard foul. And by the way, I'm anti-referees are costing you games and this and that. I just don't like to lean that way. I feel that the players hash it out, even though I know the NBA has the worst set of referees in all of sports. That's including the National Football League. So that's telling you exactly on how pathetic it really is. So even with all the debacles every single game in the NBA, I normally don't head in that direction. There's no doubt that this thing was rigged. There's no doubt that they were trying to get the Sixers to lose, which is pretty bonkers considering a Game 7 would do a lot for this league, and you get a Game 7 on Sunday night, Father's Day, and they're trying to not have it. But maybe it's because then you can justify the process and this and that. But with the nonsense of no starting player having free throw attempts until basically the game was over, on top of that, Joel Embiid gets put in a headlock. He literally gets put in a headlock by John Collins on an alley-oop, and somehow it's a foul on Joel Embiid. Then the trash thing that happened when John Collins is on the ground kicking Joel Embiid. Trae Young shoves Joel Embiid into John Collins, even though, sure, Joel was getting in his face a little bit as well. But that was a joke. All of it was just a flat-out disgrace. You're telling me in an NBA game, a starter on the Sixers didn't deserve a free throw until the late fourth quarter? Absolutely not. That's trash. That's so bad. But you know what? They beat the Atlanta Hawks. They beat everyone on that roster. They beat the head coach. They beat the announcers. They beat the referees. And they beat everybody in that building in terms of a fan. So good for the Sixers. They had to battle it out. It wasn't just, well, I was going to say 5-on-5, but we know it's 5-on-4 when Ben Simmons is out there, although he wasn't out there very much. I mean, you saw a big difference in how much he played. He was in foul trouble, though. He picked up that third foul 75,000 feet away from the basket in the corner because he's, frustrated. He's annoyed. He's bothered. He had that one play, I can't believe what I'm watching sometimes out of Ben, where he goes up to try and make a pass to Furkan Korkmaz, and it was one of those leaving the feet passes where he gets caught in midair, doesn't really know what to do. And then after Seth Curry gets a beautiful drive, he was killing it in the third quarter. When they came out after halftime, they picked up their defensive play. There's no denying that. And then Seth Curry's knocking down threes. Joel actually had a three sandwiched in between a bunch of Seth threes. He drives the lane very nicely, passes it over to Ben Simmons. Ben is 1 inch away from the basket, and he awkwardly throws it or shot puts it or does something and misses completely. You're at the point now where Tyrese Maxey deserves way more minutes than Ben Simmons. You're playing the timeout game at the end, taking Ben on, taking Ben off, putting Ben on, taking Ben off. I mean, it's a joke that's what we're watching out of your $30 million man, but you got to push the right buttons here. And if you have to do that in Game 7 and find a new role for Ben, like Ben wasn't even defending. Ben was having a terrible day, and so was Joel, too. I thought he had a really tough time. He ended up getting better as it went on, and you could tell in the paint area, he did make the Hawks think about a few things, whether they were getting into the paint and his presence stopped them from going up with the shot and forced them to kick it back out to try and set up a different look. So as the game went on, you did see Joel Embiid's impact defensively, but how many times early were you watching him struggle trying to figure out, was he going to go up on the screen or was he going to sit back for the alley-oop pass, and he got caught in the middle so many damn times that pick and roll was basically lethal. If you're the Sixers thinking about how you start this game, you do exact opposite of what you did, because that was so horrible to watch. They did not look engaged. It looked like they didn't even want to be there. Ben and Tobias both pick up their 2 personal fouls within a blink of an eye, and now you're going to your bench. And luckily, because Joel Embiid at that time was turning the ball over as well, he finished with 8 turnovers, so he was extremely sloppy in that area, but he could not sense that double team. He could not sense that help defender where it was an easy pickpocket. Here comes the second defender, and within a second, the ball is going the other way. Luckily, though, Matisse Thybulle was out there helping out and had a couple steals. At one point, he was basically playing safety or a cornerback or linebacker in football, and he's catching passes in midair, and then we're going back towards their bucket at least. Luckily, Matisse Thybulle did help you out there, and I remember it was a transition play that happened with Matisse Thybulle getting a steal. It leads to a Seth Curry 3, and the score was 20-13, but it could have been even more of a double-digit lead for the Atlanta Hawks if Matisse wasn't out there at that time. So I know that sounds crazy because it was so early into the game, but I thought that was such a crucial moment considering Joel Embiid didn't have it, and he had so many weird, questionable decisions out there for real with his shot selection. I don't know if it was just fatigue, but it's tough. It's tough because over the last handful of games, Joel Embiid has not been very strong in the fourth quarter, questioning who is your closer? Who is your closer? What are you supposed to do in a late crunch game situation when Joel is having trouble in that area? Now, you've been accustomed to playing 5-on-4 basically the entire time because of Ben Simmons. So if you move that out of the way and you throw in somebody else, does that change things? Yes. But I've been asking this question for years now. Can it be a center? I know Joel is special. I get it. Joel Embiid is ridiculously solid, and he's a very fantastic player when you just look at him with a very broad angle. But we are talking about Joel Embiid taking that huge step in his career. We say he's so damn polished, and he's so mature now. I still think he's missing something. He's not there yet. I looked at some of his possessions late today, and I wanted to throw up. Same with the last game, and same with the game before that. So that's now 3 games, and I'm not here bashing Joel. You're not here unless Joel Embiid is Joel Embiid. So I'm not sitting here blaming Joel. I'm objectively looking at Joel Embiid as a player. And I watch Kevin Durant, and I watch Paul George, and I watch Kawhi Leonard before he gets hurt, and I watch these players, and I watch Giannis, and I don't think Giannis is ready, and I watch some of these players. And when I watch Joel, he needs that next step. Now, is the next step getting a primary point guard that can help you out tremendously in those moments that's not named Ben Simmons? Absolutely. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's as simple as that, where if you have a primary point guard out there that can actually make matters better for you and can help you out with the simple, hey, he sets a screen and there's actually a threat on the floor that carries the ball. Maybe that's enough to open up just a little bit more for Joel to operate better late game possessions. But it has been a struggle, and that's just me looking at it with just a very objective viewpoint here with Joel. I thought for a closeout game, or, well, it's not a closeout game. It's your back's against the wall. It's you better win or your season's over. It's not closeout because you're not winning the series if you win. But with your backs against the wall, I thought Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were not very good. And Tobias Harris was okay. Seth Curry was very large for you. And Tyrese Maxey. It's just, we talk about the growth, and Ben Simmons probably isn't going to be here anyway, regardless on what happens. So I guess that whole storyline totally changes because we're talking about the growth of these players. And then now when you watch Ben, I thought, is this now a spot where Ben Simmons just becomes a role player in the NBA? Now, granted, teams are going to take a flyer on him, I'm sure, and want a chance to get their hands on Ben Simmons because of the potential. But I saw a very interesting tweet from Keith Smith, who covers the league for Yahoo Sports NBA, and he also covers the Celtics specifically. If Ben Simmons was a free agent this year, how much money would he get in free agency? How much would his contract be if he was hitting the free agency market after this postseason run? Barely anything, and he could be basically a role player. Are we now at the point where we're watching this? Because, look, regular season, it is what it is. You want to get all fascinated with regular season stuff every year. I have to always calm people down in about 30 to 35 games of a regular season when people get carried away. You don't play the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs. You don't play the Orlando Magic in the playoffs. You don't play 70% of that, whatever you want to call it, that slop that's in regular season schedules. You don't see them in a 7-game series where there's actually reasonable talent. And reasonable talent, not everyone sees reasonable talent early, like the Washington Wizards were not. But regardless, you get my point. Whatever. So, Ben Simmons could do this, and Ben Simmons doesn't work when it matters, though. Ben Simmons doesn't work when it matters. And this is the only thing that matters. So who gives a damn about what he does in Game 62 against the Phoenix Suns or Game 38 against whoever it is? Who cares? Because it has no relevance to right now when you talk about deep postseason basketball in late game moments. It just doesn't. So when you watch Ben, I think he sees it too. I think he notices it. He got the hack of Ben. He ended up going 1 of 2. And realistically, the second 1 of 2 he got super lucky because that free throw hit the back iron and then went up into the air, hit the backboard, ended up going in. It could have been an 0 for 2, and Doc Rivers really had to pull the trigger. If I was Doc, though, I would go back with the hack of Clint Capella, because he's terrible in that area, and just kind of counter it that way. But I don't know if they did that just throughout, just not specifically calling it the hack of Clint, but if you realize that Clint Capella's in an area, just wrap him up, or whether George Hill puts a hand on him just to put him to the line, send him to the line. I think they kind of did that naturally throughout. In the second quarter, I was watching George Hill and Tobias Harris throw up back-to-back air balls, and then Ben Simmons standing in a dunker spot while you're waiting for Shake Milton to try and create out by the perimeter, which landed in a brick and no points whatsoever. And it was one of the worst possessions in the world. And that's when I'm sitting on the couch drinking my late-night coffee with my hands pretty much in my palms thinking, what are we doing here? There's no way this is seriously the action that I'm watching right now. But to reality, yeah, I was. And it was laughing in pain during those moments, but I'll tell you what, that third quarter was crazy. Now, Tobias, I don't want to make it seem like he was just horrendous forever. He did end up picking it up. He finished 9 of 20 with 24 points. He knocked down crucial free throws, and he played good defense. There was that really good defensive possession at the end after the Atlanta Hawks called their last timeout, which it resulted in a Herder too. But the way that they did not foul and they wasted clock off of the timer there, they wasted time off of the clock, and then there was basically enough time for the Sixers to make one free throw, end it because the Hawks had no timeouts. I thought that was a very strong defensive possession, and Tobias Harris was very big in that moment specifically. Yeah, I thought that, look, when you think about the first half, it was a 4-point game at the half, and it felt like it was a 10 billion point lead for the Atlanta Hawks. The crowd was going crazy. Trae Young was making shots. Trae Young was also doing the floater game and the alley-oop game, and they were getting whatever looks they wanted to off of that pick and roll that the Sixers really struggled with. And it was a 4-point game, and you almost thought of that as like, wow, I'll take that any single day of the week because it felt like $3 billion. Then later on, though, the Sixers were up just a handful, and it felt like the Sixers should have been up way more. So it was almost the complete opposite. So that scared me in those moments where the Sixers were up, and the Sixers had a double-digit lead in the third quarter, and you thought, oh, no, not this again, please. Although you want it to happen, obviously. But no, please, no. But, yeah, I mean, they did hold on, and I do have to give them credit because there's a lot of mental battles that happen late when you're on the road, knowing what happened, blowing two big, huge leads in the last two games. You know, it's not easy. I'm sure you constantly think about it, and you have to somehow turn that off and just focus on the right there and the right now. And just thinking about Doc Rivers starting Furkan Korkmaz, I was okay with trying that earlier when you first found out the Danny Green news. It's over with. It's done with. Furkan Korkmaz, some guys you could get away with bad defense. Seth Curry's not a good defender, but he's lighting it up. Trae Young is a horrendous defender, but he's doing very well in this series. Tyrese Maxey, not a very good defender, but he's holding his own. Furkan Korkmaz is not a bad defender, and he can't hang. My man cannot hang. If you watch his defensive possessions, he has no idea what he's doing. He's also getting beat on the glass for a Herder to get an easy bucket. His awareness defensively, he gets so lost, and then the opposing team gets a wide open look, and they make you pay. The Furkan Korkmaz experience as a starter, it needs to be limited. You cannot have him out there as much as you, and I know you're looking for spacing and you're trying to space out the floor, but you're just getting waxed and abused on the other end. I couldn't believe what I saw where here's Herder, and Herder's attacking him. I mean, you get a mismatch on Furkan, you're going to take advantage of that. You got some buckets out of him. It's just unacceptable. You can't do it. When I saw Herder grab that rebound and put it right back up, I got so damn bothered and so damn annoyed. And speaking of rebounds, something Maxey did down low on the defensive end was come up with the crucial one and then end up handing it off to Embiid or whoever it was down low there. And then the Sixers went off on the other side. But, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, the Tyrese Maxey experience was super damn fun. I wonder if things changed because you did not have Bogdanovich late. Now, I'm not telling you Bogdanovich is a world beater and he's the Kevin Durant of the Brooklyn Nets, but he is someone that you are accustomed to having out there. So when you do lose a body like that, it does change, what you're able to do, and you take off a starter off the floor in late game situations. I mean, yeah, that's definitely going to be a difference for what Nate wants to do with the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young finished with 34 points. He took 30 shots, though. I do always find that hilarious that you just look at the end and go, oh, well, Trae Young had 34 points. Yeah, I mean, Trae Young did not have a bad game by any means, but, I mean, let's throw a little bit of context on here. He had 30 shots for 34 points. I mean, it's not the most efficient in the damn world. He likes to just jack up. Sometimes I laugh. He's not a great three-point shooter. He just has a lot of range, which makes the highlight clips where he's pointing at the logo. And, I mean, he does make some nice plays out there shooting the rock, but I'm just saying. I mean, he's not the most efficient in the world. I talked about this before. When he gets into the paint area, when he starts going downhill, that's where he has the more success. I'd dare him. I'd say, dude, take as many shots as you want, bro. Instead of the 12 assists where he's lobbing it up to Collins or Clint Capella, I'd eliminate that as much as possible and say, go ahead, Trey. Keep doing you, man. You want to keep popping shots? I mean, that's not efficient at all. 13 of 30 for 34 points is not efficient. He kills you in other areas. But it sucks when you have to watch Ben Simmons. Like, you have to take off your defender, and your defender's not even having good days at the office defending. If Ben Simmons is not even doing well defending, what the hell is he doing? Please, somebody let me know. If he's going to struggle that much, pick up all those fouls. And, you know, Doc always talks about how I don't want to get Ben Simmons in foul trouble early. That's why we put him on another guy. Well, then he's not as good of a defender as you think if he's going to start picking up these fouls, you know? Now, regardless of how bad the referees were and what they were calling, if you're Defensive Player of the Year, elite defender, you just know. You stop putting yourself in that position. Ben Simmons puts himself in those positions to pick up those fouls, and it's ill-advised. It's not needed. He does that. So if you do that, you're not as good of a defender as you think you are. Not picking up fouls is part of defending. So that part of Ben Simmons frustrates me a lot, and for him to pick up all those fouls, have to sit on the bench 9 minutes. I think I said minus 17 before. Maybe it was around minus 15. I forget exactly what he was, but he was dashed a lot in a very short amount of time, and that's unacceptable from a guy who gets paid to basically only defend. So if you do nothing, you're not hitting your free throws, you're doing nothing offensively, and I mean nothing offensively, by the way. Nothing. It makes me cringe. I study him on the offensive side. Doesn't take much, but I laugh because here he goes, right? He dribbles up, hands it off to someone, then he just sits there in the corner. Not in the corner, in the dunker spot area, right underneath the basket off to the side. Amazing. It really is amazing. You had an elite facilitator, or pick up an assist for just dribbling the ball up, sliding it over to Seth Curry, and then going somewhere else. I mean, there was one point where your offense was basically just wait for Seth Curry to come off of a spot and just pop it, baby. Let it fly. Let's stroke it. Let's do it. And Seth Curry, nothing but net. He was crushing. His brother's going crazy on Twitter, as he should be, as everybody was. I went with the blowing smoke emoji out of the nose and said, Seth! 5 exclamation points, all capitals. But it made me feel weird because that blow smoke emoji's totally the Ben Simmons emoji. So we might have to rethink that as a fan base once Ben Simmons is gone. Ooh. DraftKings Sportsbook is not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook. I love using DraftKings Sportsbook. It's easy to navigate, it has plenty of instructions for new bettors, and nearly limitless ways to get in on all the action. My friends and family have been loving DraftKings Sportsbook, and I know you will too. Listen to this great offer. DraftKings Sportsbook is putting you courtside with a chance to turn $1 into $100 in site credits. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits. Bet on the basketball team of your choice to win their next game, and if you do, you will claim $100 in free credits. That's promo code Brodes for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only, new customers only. Wager paid out inside credits. Restrictions apply in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's go to the Anytime Hotline to hear from you. Here we go.
Hey, what up, Brodes? Good, solid game. I'm glad we got the win. Game 7 back in Philly. I know the crowd going to be in it. You know, we should definitely pull that out as long as everybody stay focused and determined like the game ahead today. Got to give Maxey a lot of credit, stepping up and playing big time, coming off the bench and giving us 16. Definitely some well-earned minutes and well-earned production, you know, making up for Ben Simmons' lack of production. But I think we let something slip by in the interview I watched from Ben Simmons. He said him and Curry were playing Call of Duty, and he told Curry, I need 30 points from you. I was thinking, and I'm like, what are you going to do if Curry asks that of you?
That's pretty funny. I didn't know what you were referencing there, but yeah, that was back from a few games ago and all where, was that last series or was that earlier this series? I forget. Seth Curry's been killing it so damn much and giving you 30 burgers forever that I don't even really remember when that was. But yeah, you're damn right. I think Ben is really feeling it at this point. He's putting on a brave face, and I'm not saying it's easy. You know, I don't want to be in that position. I don't envy him for being where he is today. Now, a lot of that's on himself. There's been clips resurfacing from years ago from John Clark of Ben basically saying, Hackle Ben won't happen. I will make sure that won't happen. So he's had plenty of time to fix that area of his game, and he just has not done a good enough job adding. And, you know, you can get away for so long being bigger than everybody else in college and in high school, but this is the NBA, bro. This is the NBA in the playoffs. It's totally different. Everybody's big in this league, okay? So you're not the only one that's big. Now it's about your skill set that separates you from everybody else, and he's got way too many damn flaws. In terms of Tyrese Maxey, 16-7, made some big free throws as well. You know, I just thought that that's so important that you have a threat with the ball in your hands that can create, that can get a shot off, that's willing to take a three, that can come around the screen and make a play. It puts pressure on the pick-and-roll defense. Do you have to come up and slide up to try and stop Tyrese Maxey? Do you allow him to shoot? What's Joel Embiid doing? You know, I did hate that Doc Rivers went back to the bench plus Tobias. You're in a playoff series where your backs are against the wall, and you're still living and dying with methods. Like, this is why Doc Rivers has the resume that he has. It ended up being all right tonight. And keep in mind, like, if you're the Atlanta Hawks and you look at what happened today, this was a game you probably should have won. Joel Embiid was not very good. Ben Simmons was not very good. Tobias Harris was all right. I mean, he had some tough moments, whether it was an air ball or whether it was getting blocked at the rim. He had some okay takes. He was all right. But Tobias Harris was definitely not a problem. He wasn't great, but he was all right. He definitely had a spurt there that he helped out the team when the team needed it most. But, yeah, look, this was a winnable game for the Atlanta Hawks. You know, you kind of let one slip. This is one where I'd be very frustrated if I'm the Atlanta Hawks. Damn, that's one that we probably could have had. And now we got to go back to Philadelphia where it's going to be brutal. It's going to be intense. It's going to be extremely difficult. But I can't rule it out considering I didn't see something that blew me away today with the Sixers' fantastic play. And I've seen them blow a 26-point lead after blowing a huge lead the game before. At this point, anything is definitely on the table. But yeah, with Tyrese Maxey, it gives you that element of a pick and roll game that you just don't have with Ben.
They found their balls tonight. This team actually has some guts. At least most of them. First of all, I'm giving it an imaginary standing ovation to the performance of Tyrese Maxey tonight. That kid and Seth Curry saved the Sixers season. If our vaunted point guard, Mr. Simmons, had half of the balls of either one of those two guys, this series would have been over 3 games ago. Great job by Maxey, especially at the end to step up and hit the 2 free throws, ice water in his veins. Now, that being said, if you're Atlanta, look, you've won in Philadelphia twice, and if it wasn't for Shake Milton going nuts, you'd have completed the hat trick. So I don't think the crowd is going to be any noisier on Sunday night than it's been. But pressure's still on the Sixers, but you are feeling a little better going into Sunday night.
And that's what I was saying after last game. You know, it wasn't the right time to start talking about Game 6 because you're reacting to what happened in that brutal performance. But the series was not over. The Sixers still had a chance to do it, and I thought pretty decent about it because I knew that they were the better team. Now, you mentioned Shake Milton. That brings me back to my point of what Doc Rivers decides to do. He loves it. He loves this all bench plus Toby. He coached this game and coached the bench, or at least he utilizes the bench like it's game 55 of the regular season, like it's game 1 of a series against the Washington Wizards. And that always, it costs them. I mean, it does. It's one of the reasons why when you look at the list of the biggest leads blown and the series leads blown, that we talk about Doc Rivers the way that we do. He's very stubborn with his rotations. His rotations confuse the living hell out of me. George Hill and, oh man, I mean, it's really a disgrace at times what he throws out there, but here we go. I'm sure we're going to see it again. And you mentioned Shake Milton. It's worked. It's helped you once in a blue moon. It's also crushed you, and it's been a huge problem. Dwight Howard having a lot of issues. I don't know what the hell is going on with him. He's going on Instagram Live before the game even happens, which to me is just, what are you doing? The optics of it is dumb as hell, whether you're doing nothing wrong or doing everything right. Whatever. It does not matter. I just don't think it's a good look. You're at Game 6 on the road. You're going on Instagram Live talking to fans about Burger King and McDonald's, and then you put on a display like that where you're pretty much an embarrassment out there. I just don't think it's necessary whatsoever. So anyway, yeah, Doc Rivers and his usage of the bench has been very questionable, and we'll see in Game 7, will that be the difference in the outcome of the game? I would imagine you got to go smaller. You got to go smaller in terms of the bench size. You cannot go super deep. You can't do it. And I'd take Furkan Korkmaz out of the starting lineup and see if you can create spark with less minutes. Less is more for a guy like him. You can't run him too long. If you throw him out there in doses, see if you can get a couple shots off in a short amount of minute span. If he does well, then you find another spot for him later. If he goes 0 for 3 from 3, then you yank him and you never see him out there again. Or 0 for 2 from 3. All right, see you, Korkmaz. You had your chance. He gets absolutely annihilated consistently on the defensive end. You just can't use him. You can't use him.
Hey, Brodes. Well, I'm glad after 5 games, Doc Rivers decides he knows what to do in the fourth quarter. And I'm glad Tyrese Maxey really got to show what he could do, and I'm glad Ben was in foul trouble so we could get his ass out of the game. And, I mean, if Game 7 goes anything like tonight and Joel's having a good game, it's a blowout. So that's how I think about it. Let's go Sixers.
Yeah, the Joel Embiid thing's pretty fascinating because he was really off. And I thought, like I said, he had moments where he definitely did protect the house, and you could see the Atlanta Hawks somewhat struggle or double guess what they wanted to do when he started sliding in the paint and became more of protection. But there were times early on where he was just getting abused nonstop. He did not know what he wanted to do, and then he looked off. His touch was off. Now, a lot of his shots, I will admit, a lot of his shots were basically halfway down, and they did not fall. They rolled around the rim, and they popped out. He settled for a jumper, but he was settling all night long. One of those nights where you know your team has not been to the free throw line. You got to make sure you power yourself down there. You got to take them. Take them down low. I'm not one of those scream you got to get on the block guy every single damn possession, because that's not what Joel Embiid is. It's 2021 basketball. He's a finesse guy. He's a finesse 7'2" player, and that's why we love Joel Embiid. He's so damn lethal being a finesse 7'2" guy who does have power to his game. He could probably have more, but, I mean, he's got Olajuwon footwork, and he plays like Kevin Durant at his size. It's amazing. At the same time, when you realize your shot's not falling, okay, now find another way. And you know your team hasn't been there, make it where they're forced to call that. Forced to call you with a shooting foul. Forced where you move Clint Capella 8 feet to the side because he can't touch your jock strap and you're using your body. Now, fatigue, I'm sure, has settled in at this point. You don't have the 2 days off in between each game anymore. It's firepower. It's not firepower. It's, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's bang, 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 bang. I don't know. Don't know the word. But it's one day, bang, you're back into the game. It's coming at you quick. So you don't have as much time to rest. And he has a lot of wear and tear on his body. Oh, by the way, he's playing with one leg. So how much of it with Joel Embiid is just he's getting tired right now, and somebody else needs to step up. Maxey, Seth, Tobias. You need guys to step up and kind of help out the big man. Now, that happened tonight. It did not happen in previous games. Tobias went 2 for 11 the other night in Game 6. Well, he goes 9 of 20 with 24 points. I thought Tobias Harris held his own. I'm not going to tell you it's the most perfect Tobias night in the world. He did have that really nice take to the basket where he finished hard, flushed it, beautiful dunk, showed some emotion too, flexed a little bit while getting back on defense. He had a nice couple of defensive possessions where he did come up to try and block Trae Young or try and block someone out by the perimeter, but he stood his ground afterwards and stayed strong there defensively. There were a couple moments there for Toby, but it was solid, and your big man needed help tonight. And he got help, and one of them was just from someone that you're not normally used to seeing in a rookie, which is very rare for it to be a young player like that, to be cruising that way.
Tyrese Maxey is the best thing to come out of Kentucky since George Clooney and Jennifer Aniston. I'd say changed my mind, but you simply can't. When Ben Simmons is on the floor, I'm having full-blown panic attacks. Nothing could have relieved it more than when Tyrese Maxey steps on that court. He was balling out of his mind. Seth Curry was balling. And, getting to a Game 7 is great and all, but like Kobe said, job's not finished. I don't care if this game is in Philly, Atlanta, or on the goddamn moon. It does not matter. Job is not finished. So, take it with our heads down and keep moving forward.
You're right. The job is not finished. That is for damn sure. And it's a weird spot because, you're at home and this Sixers team thrives at home. They've played a weird brand of basketball. And I think that Game 6 loss, the combination of 5 and 6, but 6 was the one that put the icing on the cake and really put the knife in the back, and there was a bit of a stab there and a twist and turn. I think this fan base lost a little bit, right, in terms of what does this mean big picture, and can they do anything next round if they were to win this and that. And, I think the expectations somewhat fell a bit because championship caliber teams don't blow those type of victories to the Atlanta Hawks, and the squad is missing something. Even though they won tonight, you watch this team play, and it was hideous. It wasn't great. It wasn't really like a strong game. They just pulled it through, and sometimes you got to win ugly. It's not always going to be this masterpiece, right? Sometimes you got to maneuver through the ugly ones, and that's what happened. But it's just weird because you're going to Game 7. You think that you'd be like no-brainer. It's a lock. Philly's going to win here in Philly, but I don't know. It doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel automatic. I think I saw the opening line is somewhere around 7. Not that matters much because the line this series has been all over the map. There have been lines that I loved for the Sixers, and they lost those games, so it doesn't really matter much for me what the opening line is. It's a strange spot that we're in because I think this Sixers team hurt us so much and backstabbed us so much in Game 5. What did I say? Did I say Game 6? I meant Game 5. Game 5 was the one that was brutal. It was Game 4 and Game 5 that were very painful. But, yeah, I think with Game 5, that was one that set us back so much where we're not recovering just because of a win on the road that looked this way. If you want to look optimistic, though, there's only one way up for Joel. And if Joel is going to be lethal, it's going to be a different game. I thought in this, how you would have to start this game in this one was go through Toby, get him going, save the Joel Embiid energy for late in the second half because he was wearing out. Clint Capella said when you get him tired, he tires out. Well, yeah, you're right. It's not because of you. It's because his team wasn't helping him. Ben Simmons is a liability offensively where he had to do everything himself, and naturally he gets tired. Not because of you, just because of the nature of dribbling the ball so much, shooting the ball so much, and being the most explosive threat the 76ers had. So with that, I thought, go through Tobias early, let him get going. We saw him in games past have 16 points in the first quarter, 18 points in the first quarter, get on a nice rhythm, but that wasn't happening. Picked up early fouls. You tried to start settling with Joel, and it never really picked up. The beginning was a disaster. Just luckily, the Seth Curry experience in the third really helped in. But he came out and just started ripping through threes. That place was getting quieter and quieter, and Seth was getting louder and louder, and it was a good spot for sure once he started firing them. That was needed, and he's been really clutch for you all playoffs long. All right, I want to thank everyone so much for listening. Sunday, I will be on 97.5 The Fanatic from 4 to 6 p.m. on Sunday, by the way, part of the leading you into 76ers basketball. So if you are interested, 97.5 The Fanatic, Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. before Devon Givens and Bob Cooney brings you from 6 to tip-off. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.